Or is it? The phrase blue moon in modern usage has nothing to do with the actual colour of the moon. Although a visually blue moon, the moon appearing with a bluish tinge, may occur under certain atmospheric conditions. For instance, if volcanic eruptions or wildfires release particles high into the atmosphere of just the right size to preferentially scatter the red light. That being said, time for a quick quiz. When is the next blue moon? A hint if you need it. Tomorrow is the 1st of August and tomorrow night we have a full moon. Remember, a lunar cycle takes 29.53 days. So when will we see the next full moon? Okay, who said the next blue moon is the end of August? In fact, the 31st of August to be precise. And who said the next blue moon is on the 19th of August 2024? Well, you're both correct. So how can this be? It all depends on whether you follow the modern 2 full moons in a month rule or the now virtually forgotten but original rule that a blue moon is the 3rd moon that occurs in a season that has 4 full moons. Let me explain. We split up our year into 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer and autumn, each lasting 3 months. The seasons change in December, March, June and September, on or around the 21st. Each month covers 1 lunar cycle and a bit, containing an early full moon, a full moon and a late full moon. Remember that for later, and please don't split hairs about February only having 28 days most years. To see an explanation for the seasonal rule, we have to turn to the Maine Farmer's Almanac. It states, the term full moon has traditionally referred to an extra full moon where a year which usually has 12 full moons has 13 instead. The blue moon reference is applied to the 3rd full moon in a season which has 4 full moons, thus correcting the timing of the last month of this season that would have otherwise been expected too early. This happens every 2 to 3 years, or 7 times in the Metonic cycle of 19 years, and I have mentioned that before. Back in the July 1943 issue of Sky and Telescope magazine, in a question and answer column, there was a reference made to the term blue moon. The unusual term was cited from a copy of the 1937 edition of the now defunct Maine Farmer's Almanac. On the almanac page for August 1937, the calendrical meaning for the term blue moon was given. This explanation said that the full moon usually comes full 12 times a year, 3 times in each season. Occasionally, however, there will come a year when there are 13 full moons, not the usual 12. The almanac explanation continued. This was considered a very unfortunate circumstance, and it upset the regular arrangement of church festivals. For this reason, 13 has come to be considered an unlucky number. And with that extra full moon, it also meant that one of the 4 seasons of that year would contain 4 full moons instead of the usual 3. When a particular season has 4 full moons, the 3rd was apparently called a blue moon, so that the 4th and final one could continue to be called the late moon. Owing to the rarity of a blue moon, the term blue moon is used colloquially to mean a rare event, as in the phrase, "once in a blue moon." Also, folklore named each of the 12 full moons in a year according to its time of year. The occasional 13th full moon that came too early for its season was called a blue moon, so the rest of the moons that year retained their customary seasonal names. So where do we get the extra 13th full moon every 2 or 3 years? Well, one lunation, an average lunar cycle, is 29.53 days. There are about 365.24 days in a typical year. Therefore, about 12.37 lunations occur in a typical year. In the widely used Gregorian calendar, there are 12 months in a year. In fact, the word month is derived from moon. Normally, there is one full moon each month, with the date of the full moon falling back by nearly 1 day every calendar month. Each calendar year contains roughly 11 days more than the number of days in 12 lunar cycles. The extra days accumulate, so every 2 or 3 years, or 7 times in the 19-year Metonic cycle, there is an extra full moon in the year. The extra full moon necessarily falls in one of the 4 seasons, giving that season 4 full moons instead of the usual 3, and hence a blue moon. Hence, the Mainz Farmer's Almanac called the 3rd full moon in a season that had 4 the blue moon, to keep all events that use the moon for their timings in step. So how did this definition change to the 2 full moons in a month happen? The Sky and Telescope calendar misinterpretation. James Hugh Pruitt, the author of a March 1946 article in Sky and Telescope titled "Once in a Blue Moon," attempted to decipher the traditional practice of the editors of the Maine Farmer's Almanac by examining old issues of the almanac. Without enough almanacs to see the correct pattern, he conjectured the wrong rule for blue moons. He wrote, 7 times in 19 years there were, and still are, 13 full moons in a year. This gives 11 months with 1 full moon each, and 1 with 2. This second in a month, so I interpret it, was called a blue moon. This led to the modern colloquial misunderstanding that a blue moon is a second full moon in a single solar calendar month, with no link to the order it occurs in a season. Under this misinterpretation, certain typical years with 13 full moons, which would normally be said to have 1 blue moon, can be said to have 2 blue moons, making blue moons appear more frequent. Mr. Pruitt's 1946 explanation was of course the wrong interpretation, and it might have been completely forgotten were it not for journalist Deborah Byard, who used it on her popular National Public Radio program Stardate on January the 31st, 1980. Over the next decade, Mr. Pruitt's misinterpretation gained traction with a new audience of baby boomers. And today this 2 full moons in a month rule is recognized worldwide. This graph is covering the years from 2018 to 2028, as seen on the vertical axis on the left-hand side. The months of the year are listed along the horizontal axis at the bottom. Within the graph is plotted all the blue moons, both for the 2 full moons in a month rule, which is in dark blue, and the blue moon in a season rule in light blue. As you can see, the 2 full moons in a month rule are almost double in occurrence than the seasonal rule. So which rule do you prefer? I'll let you choose that.